Have you ever wondered about the complexities of the Israel-Iran conflict and how it has evolved over time? Our tale begins with the historical context of this conflict, a chessboard of political maneuvers and strategic alliances. On one side, we have Israel, a nation with a long history of maintaining its neutrality in conflicts involving Russia. The Prime Minister of Israel, Benjamin Netanyahu, had managed to foster a close relationship with Russian President Vladimir Putin, navigating the turbulent waters of international politics with a deft hand. However, the tectonic plates of geopolitics are in constant motion, and recent events have led to a shift in this delicate balance. Russia's involvement in Ukraine and the deployment of Iranian drones have prompted Israel to reconsider its stance. Netanyahu, now back in office, finds himself reassessing his support for Ukraine, potentially aligning with the United States to counter criticism of his new government's policies. This evolving position is influenced by a multitude of factors. There's the reduced Russian presence in Syria, which has altered the dynamics in the region. The looming threat of Iranian weapons also casts a long shadow over the proceedings, adding yet another layer of complexity to the intricate dance of diplomacy. But let's not forget the United States, the third actor in our drama. The relationship between the US and Israel has always been a key factor in shaping the course of the Israel-Iran conflict. And with the changing dynamics between Netanyahu and Putin, this relationship takes center stage once again. In this Game of Thrones, the stakes are high and the players are constantly changing. Each move on the global stage has a ripple effect, influencing the course of events and shaping the narrative of the Israel-Iran conflict. As we delve deeper into the recent events of the war, we uncover a myriad of influencing factors that have shaped this conflict. The story is far from over, and as we turn the pages, we will continue to explore the twists and turns of this unseen war. The summer of 2022 marked a significant turning point in the Israel-Iran conflict. The heat of the season was matched only by the rising temperature of political tensions as indirect talks between the United States and Iran, held in the distant city of Doha, Qatar, concluded without any substantial progress. This lack of diplomatic advancement served as a grim reminder of the complexities of international negotiations and the potential consequences of failure. As the talks faltered, Iran continued its steady march towards increased nuclear capabilities. This progress, combined with a notable decrease in cooperation with the United Nations nuclear watchdog, heightened concerns globally. Voices from capitals around the world began to murmur about the potential for military intervention, and the specter of conflict began to loom larger. The implications of this diplomatic impasse were far-reaching. The potential for escalation was not confined to the borders of Iran and Israel. Instead, it threatened to ripple outwards, destabilizing the balance of power within the region and beyond. The geopolitical landscape was shifting, and the tremors were felt from the war-torn cities of Ukraine to the bustling metropolises of the United States. Indeed, the failed talks in the Persian Gulf were emblematic of the evolving regional attitudes towards a potential deal. No longer were negotiations a simple matter of bilateral agreements. Instead, they were a tangled web of international relations, political posturing, and strategic maneuvering. The changing dynamics of these discussions were also influenced by the upcoming elections in both the United States and Iran, adding another layer of complexity to an already convoluted situation. The shifting timeline for a potential deal only added to the uncertainty, creating a sense of urgency that was palpable in the air. The lack of progress in talks set the stage for a prolonged diplomatic stalemate, contributing to a complex and uncertain future. The spark had been ignited, and the unseen war between Israel and Iran had taken a significant turn. The summer of 2022 would be remembered as a time of escalating tensions and growing concerns, a time when the possibility of conflict became ever more tangible. As the diplomatic stalemate persisted, the conflict grew more intense. This was a time when tensions were high and the potential for a peaceful resolution seemed to be slipping away. In this turbulent period, the United States and its allies decided to restart the Iran nuclear talks in Vienna. The aim was to curb Iran's nuclear ambitions and strike a balance that would ensure regional stability. But the journey to these negotiations was far from smooth, with uncertainty looming over Tehran's approach and skepticism about the prospects of a successful outcome. Iran, on the other hand, wasn't just waiting on the sidelines. The country announced significant advances in uranium enrichment, a process crucial for the development of nuclear weapons. This move effectively reduced the time needed for Iran to develop a nuclear weapon, adding a new layer of urgency to an already tense situation. Meanwhile, the United States was preparing for all eventualities. The country emphasized its readiness to use other options if diplomacy failed, signaling a possible shift in strategy that could include military intervention. This declaration echoed through the halls of power, raising the stakes in an already high-stakes game. But the concerns didn't end there. Iran's refusal to grant access to a centrifuge facility raised eyebrows. This move sparked fears about the nature and extent of Iran's nuclear activities. As Iran's enriched uranium stockpiles grew, the breakout time to produce weapons-grade uranium decreased. This development further fueled apprehensions about Iran's nuclear ambitions and the potential consequences for the region. The escalation of the conflict was marked by a growing sense of urgency and skepticism about the prospects of peaceful resolution. As the diplomatic deadlock continued, the situation became more volatile, painting a grim picture of the future. The world watched on, hoping for a resolution that would prevent the unimaginable from becoming a reality. The implications of the conflict extend far beyond the borders of Israel and Iran. The tumultuous relationship between these two nations is a cog in a much larger geopolitical machine, a machine that drives the dynamics of the entire Middle East and beyond. This conflict has the potential to destabilize an already volatile region. The tenuous peace that exists is maintained by a delicate balance of power, a balance that could be tipped by the escalating tension between Israel and Iran. Additionally, the conflict could potentially draw in other regional and international players, further complicating the situation and increasing the risk of widespread instability. Moreover, the shifting geopolitical landscape marked by events such as the war in Ukraine is affecting the dynamics of the negotiations between Israel and Iran. The urgency of these negotiations is heightened by the changing international climate. It's like a high-stakes chess game where each move can significantly alter the course of the game. The upcoming elections in both the United States and Iran add another layer of complexity to the situation. These elections could lead to changes in policy and diplomatic approach, potentially impacting the negotiations and the future of the conflict. On one hand, a change in leadership could bring fresh perspectives and new opportunities for resolution. On the other hand, it could also lead to further polarization and escalation of tensions. The Israel-Iran conflict is a testament to the complexities of international relations. It underscores the intricacies of diplomacy and negotiation, and highlights the far-reaching implications of unresolved disputes. It shows us that a conflict between two nations is rarely isolated, but rather a part of a larger, interconnected web of international politics and relations. The Israel-Iran conflict is not just about Israel and Iran, it's about the stability of the Middle East, the shifting geopolitical landscape, and the future of international relations. Let's take a moment to reflect on what we've learned about the Israel-Iran conflict. This unseen war, a complex web of tensions and alliances, has been brewing for years, underpinned by historical context that dates back decades. It's a conflict that's seen recent escalations, with changing dynamics and alliances transforming the geopolitical landscape. We've delved into the spark that ignited this recent flare-up, the intricate dance of diplomacy between Israel and Russia, the increasing tensions between the United States and Iran, and the failed attempts to revive the Iran nuclear deal. We've seen how these sparks have ignited a powder keg of tension that has the potential to erupt into a full-blown conflict. We've also explored the escalation of this conflict. The increasing hostility and the potential for further escalation are alarming. The progress of Iran towards nuclear capabilities, their reduced cooperation with the UN's nuclear watchdog, and the lack of progress in diplomatic talks all contribute to a volatile situation that could potentially destabilize the region. We've discussed the implications of the conflict, the potential for a military intervention, the uncertainty surrounding the future of US-Iran relations, and the potential impacts on regional stability. The shifting geopolitical landscape and the increasing urgency of the situation have all been highlighted. In summary, the Israel-Iran conflict is a complex and multifaceted issue. It's a situation that's constantly evolving, influenced by a myriad of factors and with wide-ranging implications. The uncertain future of US-Iran relations, the potential for further escalation, and the threat of a prolonged diplomatic stalemate all contribute to an uncertain and potentially volatile future. As we continue to observe the unfolding events, we gain a deeper understanding of the complexities of international relations and the importance of diplomatic negotiations.